Hey, Team Happy and Fit. It's Tuesday. It's my favorite day. I love being able to come together with all of you and just celebrate each other and share best practice, but also just like community. Community is so huge. Erica and Laura and I just got off of a call. I know you guys saw it in Team Happy and Fit. We had a challenge group or boot camp meetup. And so what we did in advance, we planned an event. You can do that. Just like this best practice, I hit the events, create an event for the team, and you guys get the notification. I did that in our boot camp, and we had a meetup. And there, I don't even know, there might have been 12 of us on. It was amazing. You could definitely tell that there were some nerves. And I was just cracking my awful jokes and being my awkward self. And you could tell I was lightening the mood and just really talking about these fitness programs, talking about nutrition and talking about the resources that we have in Beachbody On Demand, showing them Fixate. If you guys have not gone through, that's like the cooking show in our house. If you go to Fixate, there are so many videos on so many recipes. Clean eating can be so delicious and so fun. And so we were just going through that. Kelsey was on too. And it was just a really good time to collaborate and feel connected. And I was even telling them, I said, this is what we do as a team. Like we constantly meet throughout the week, just like we're doing now. And the only weird thing if you guys meet in person is your height. And just kind of giving them the atmosphere that this community changes lives. And so I just thought it was really powerful. One, that coaching isn't going to be much different for them when they decide to coach one day because they're going to be so addicted to the community. And then another thing is like, I was like, I'm going to overserve. I'm going to overserve in this boot camp because I want to have 5-star customer service. I want to be the best coach. Sometimes coaches help someone get started and then they abandon them. That our job starts as soon as someone buys something from us. That's how I feel. And sometimes I don't feel the best about my groups. And then sometimes I'm like, that was amazing. So if you are feeling like that's amazing, they're going to feel like that's amazing. If you don't feel it's amazing, they're not going to feel like it's amazing, if that makes sense. I want to read you something from, you guys, you know I've been on cruising through books. So I just finished Girl Wash Your Face. It's really good. I'm doing a challenge group in April with it. You're more than welcome to join. And I call it Girl Quit Lying. That's the boot camp name. But now I'm doing 10X rule. And Grant Cardone on a Grant Cardone kick. If you need a kick in the pants, you need to go with Grant Cardone with a filter. When you read his stuff with a filter, like do you, be you, read him, but he's definitely going to motivate you. And so he said this today, and I was like, dang, yes, yes, yes. Had I not committed to a life of success, I would not have identified my purpose and would have merely spent a lifetime fulfilling everyone else's purposes. Whoa, like that's so crazy, right? And he was talking about when he was lost in his life, he had lost his focus and purpose. So then he went to say, pursuit of success should be approached not as a choice, but an absolute must. Most people approach success in the same way that I did when I hadn't committed to it. They look at it as though it doesn't matter, like it's an option or perhaps just something that only happens to other people. Others settle for just a little success, believing if they have a little, everything will be all right. Treating success as an option is one of the major reasons why people don't create it for themselves and why most people don't even get close to living up to their full potential. Ask yourself how close you are to fulfill your full capability. You might not like the answer very much. If you don't consider it your duty to live up to your potential, then you simply won't. If it doesn't become an ethical issue for you, then you won't feel obligated or driven to fulfill your capacity. People don't approach the creation of success as a must-have obligation, do or die mission, gotta have it, hungry dog on the back of a meat truck mentality. They just spend the rest of their lives making excuses for why they didn't get it. And I was like, oh, that's so true, right? That's so crazy. And he was just talking about, there's literally like a chapter, he's like, I wanted to name this, Don't Be a Little Bee. And I was like, okay. But like, he really like gets up in your space. And it's just good. And he just talked about average, like why has society settled for average goals, average lives, middle class? And he said, so here's the example I put, like, hey, do you want to join my average boot camp where you get average results? and you're with average people, like that is not enticing. Like that doesn't sound awesome at all. But right, like, hey, do you want to come hang out with my average husband, with my average kid, at my average place? That's not the kind of mentality you want to have when you say that out loud, but why do we settle for that? And it's interesting because I think a lot of people lower the bar for themselves because it's easier to hit that mark. I think a lot of that has to do with this business, is that we don't push hard enough, or we don't do the right activities to get wherever we want to go, and then we end up feeling really frustrated, and then we blame and make excuses. I don't know, that just really like gut checked me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to share that. So it's been really good. All right, let's get into the meat of our call a little bit early. I know it's crazy. I'm going to just start a little bit sooner than usual. This is gold, you guys. Please take notes. Please ask questions. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't think it's called the 4 phases of a business, or the 4 phases of a company. And I think at the same time, it could be the 4 phases of your life, like the 4 phases of what you go through. And what you need to understand is about these phases is that we're all going to be in all of them, hopefully. Like it's inevitable in a way, but specifically with this business, you need to identify quickly what phase you're in. And then what you need to understand is that just because you're in that phase doesn't mean you're going to not ever be in another phase. Does that make sense? So as we're working through this, I want you to really start thinking about, oh my gosh, I think I'm in this phase, and how can I take massive action to get to that next phase? So you have to be able to understand and identify these stages to get you to move in this business. So number 1 is the formulation phase. And I'm going to say that most of us on this call are in this phase. The formulation phase is policy and procedures. It's modeling your vision and mission. You're kind of writing it out, seeing what you want, but you're not really sure yet, right? You're kind of figuring out in this formulation phase who it is that you want to attract. So I've been getting messages thinking, I think I know my avatar, but I'm not sure. I'm really struggling with that identity. In the formulation phase, more than 90% of people fail. More than 90% of businesses fail in this phase. And as a coach for almost 4 years, and Sarah's on here with me, we cannot even tell you how many coaches have quit since we've began. And not just on Team Happy and Fit, but with Team Fit and Free and Team Rockstar Fit, coaches that we admired and looked up to, coaches that started the exact same time as we did, and even coaches that started after us are no longer here. If you look at pictures from when Sarah and I first started, about 90 to 95% of the people are no longer a coach. It's crazy. Like when you get the not the time hop, but on this day, and it'll be our first summit that we went to, and those pictures, it's just people that aren't here anymore, that were once a part of our lives. It's crazy. In the formulation phase, you're asking yourself, who do I want to attract? Where do I want to build? This is the trickiest phase. It's probably the most confusing phase, if that makes sense. So phase number 2 is the concentration phase, or he calls it the focus phase. And this is, you know who you are. You know what you want. You don't make excuses anymore. You make things non-negotiable. You get better. You're constantly growing. And you have to let go of some things. And he gave this example of when they started launching P90X, and they had the P90X bars. And then, so they had the P90X bars, and then they got Shakeology. Beachbody as a company decided to let go of the bars and go with Shakeology. They had to let go of some things in order to propel forward. Does that make sense? This phase, the focus phase or concentration phase, you get super narrow. You get super narrow on what you're doing, what you're about, who you want to speak to. I mean, super narrow. Just because you get narrow doesn't mean you exclude. Like, people will still come to you, but I mean, it gets so much to narrow of like Morgan Brill, she's pregnant, right? Like, it's going to get even more narrow than that. Like, first time pregnancy, it gets even more narrow than that. Entering into her third trimester, it gets even more narrow than that, right? Like, she's narrowing into her niche, and it's vital that you do that. Mine is the overworked, burnt out, stressed out teacher who binge watches TV, couch to coach, someone who literally hates fitness, doesn't know how to eat clean, loves Cheez-Its and beer. I could keep going, but it gets super narrow. I'm not just a dog mom, I'm a boxer rescue dog mom. I have a rescue dog. That's totally different than a non-rescue dog. Like, it gets narrow, right? You're not just a mom, you're a mom of boys, but not just a baby boy, but maybe a 4-year-old boy. That's totally different, right? Or maybe you're a mom who's completely done having kids. You got to get really narrow in on your niche. And you have pockets of growth. And in this concentration phase, focus phase, you, even as a coach, beyond yourself of hitting Success Club or hitting certain goals, you also have people that you're working with on your team that are starting to hit Success Club. That's an important thing to write down, because some of you might be like, I was in that phase. Nope. You cannot guess yourself out of thinking out of phase because it sounds better. Does that make sense? The only way to grow is to be honest. The only way to move forward is to like completely break down barriers that you're setting up for yourself. A lot of times in life, we make excuses, or we put up our own barriers, or we kind of excuse things or ignore things and do not confront reality. What I want you to do on this call is I want you to be super real and be like, I'm in this phase. The only way that you can move forward in this business is to be super real with where you're at. The third phase is the momentum phase. The momentum phase. This looks like multiple growth. It's 2 to 3 generations, meaning 2 to 3 generations on your team, on your downline. So just the example of Success Club, it's not you just hitting Success Club. It's not just your personally sponsored coach hitting Success Club, but it's also their coaches hitting Success Club. Does that make sense? That's the only like tangible thing I could think of at the moment. But that's what's happening. It could even be like, oh, I am not just jumping on these calls anymore. And it's not just my PS coach that's jumping on these calls anymore. It's also my PS coaches hitting or getting on these calls. Does that make sense? So it's not just you anymore. It's not just your PS coach anymore. And a lot of times when we start a team page, it's you and you, me, myself, and I, and you. And then you finally get that awesome coach who posts and likes some of your stuff. And then all of a sudden, it's not just you and the team page anymore. It's others, if that makes sense. This is so huge. So on momentum page, there's new coaches, right? But this is, you need to star this. I was like, oh, whoa, because this is going to hit you all real hard. Income isn't what your success is in the momentum phase. It is not tied to income. Not saying that your income isn't bad, but having momentum in this business is not tied to income. Size doesn't equal the influence or leadership. When I was starting off, you would have had no idea. I've had this conversation with Liz Colborn. When she joined me, she had no idea I was just an Emerald coach. I don't like it when someone says just an Emerald. I think Emerald's amazing. But she would have had no idea that I was just an Emerald coach because I poured my heart out. I believed, I showed up, I overserved, I failed forward, didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I didn't care. I did not limit, I was like so on a roll. I didn't put those limitations on myself when I was starting out as a coach. You cannot have this mindset, I'll finally be there when I'm making $500 in a month, and then this is what I'll do, right? It doesn't work like that. Like, you have to do that now. You have to be leading, and you have to be growing, and your success is not tied to that number. It's not tied to that rank. It's not tied to income. In the momentum phase, you're going to notice something. You're going to notice emeralds and diamonds popping in your downline. Because you have so much momentum, everyone has so much belief, there's new coaches, everyone is believing in the vision, and they're experiencing success themselves, because success is not tied to income, right? You're just going and everyone's believing. This phase is the hardest to gain and the easiest to lose. I've been in this phase multiple times. I believe I'm in this phase right now. And it is so true. It's the hardest to gain and the easiest to lose. You'll be tempted to relax when you have so much momentum happening in your business and on your team. When we hit elite for the very first time, that is what happened. We had so much momentum. Things were crazy. January came around and I hit a brick wall. It was tough. You cannot gauge success on income, and you cannot sit back in this phase. So a lot of times people, the reason that they lose this phase is because they're tying it to a certain number, and they're starting to sit back. I cannot speak today. Hang with me, please. I like to say it's like the stick shift, man. Like, you're in and then you're not. You're there and then you're not. You say this and then you're not. And then I'll be like, I forgot you were even around. If I'm like that as a coach and a leader on this team, I can't imagine what your following is thinking, because literally you're just there and you're not, and then you are, and then you aren't, and then it's like whatever. I love that Rachel Hollis from Girl Wash Your Face, she says this, you should follow her, she's amazing. And she said, don't break a promise with yourself. Aren't you sick and tired of breaking promises with yourself? Just stop breaking those promises. You have to stay close to the action in this phase. And mentoring is critical. And I know some of you are on here and you're like, man, Julianne, though, I'm in the formulation phase. Why do I need to know about this momentum phase? I think it's important that you know that. Just as much as I think it's very important that you know the vision, I think it's very important that you know any of the leaders that are on this call, what their goals are. How many of you have heard my goals before, Liz Colborn's goals before, Sarah's, Morgan's, Kristen's? Like, have you guys heard Morgan's, like Kim's? Have you guys heard these goals before? Lauren's? Have you heard their goals ever? Have you seen them anywhere? I think it's critical that you see what's possible. I think it's critical. I've been questioned on my integrity from other coaches because of how much I share the vision and my goals. I think people are afraid of that kind of relentlessness. I think people are afraid of hearing other people leveling up. I think people are intimidated, but then they want to say, she's selfish, she's this or that, like she doesn't care about us, like all this stuff, which has happened. And then I've had to go, you know what? I know what moves mountains in this business. I've moved them myself, and I've seen other people do it, and that's why I can do it too. Because my mentors gave me the privilege of them being so transparent with their goals and their vision, and they breathe life into me, where I was like, and they never made me feel far from them, ever. And it is my duty to make sure that you guys know what is possible. Nikki Touch used to be on another team, and it was so secret. She had no idea about anything. Brittany McMillan, same thing. They are so on her upline, so secretive. They don't share anything. She doesn't even know how much her upline makes or wants to make. She doesn't even know like what if her upline's even doing anything. I'm like, that is a disservice as a leader. I'm not trying to down talk. I'm not trying to do this stuff, but it's crazy because when you start to level up, Other people are either going to level up with you, or the mediocre thinking, average thinking, they're going to question your integrity. I would rather level up and sacrifice mediocre thinking for all of you so you guys know exactly what's possible. So for those of you who are in the formulation phase, I think it's vital that you write down everything in this momentum phase, because I'm telling you that you're not that far. That I'm telling you that you can have it. You just have to make a decision. I don't think there's a magic momentum. I don't think there's magic to this whole thing. I don't think there's magic motivation. Like, we're always looking for that magic thing, that secret, but really it's just a choice to take action. It's vital that I, as a leader, not just in this business, and I always say this, I'm like, I don't think that there's a work-life balance with coaching, because it should be influencing every area of your life for the better. Scrolling the newsfeed and being on your phone is a totally different story. That is not coaching. And you cannot tie that into coaching. That's not fair. I believe that coaching empowers every area of your life if you would just let it. It's made me a better person. It's made me love myself more. Because I love myself more, I can love the people in my life more. It's crazy how I feel compared to 4 years ago. Coaching is a good thing. So when you're massively successful at it, guess what's going to happen in all the other areas of your life? You're going to get fit in all those other areas. Did you know that 7.4 billion people are insecure? Or have insecurities? Kind of crazy, right? Like, the whole population has insecurities. So as I'm working this, as I'm doing this, do insecurities pop up? Heck to the freaking yeah. Am I perfect? Never will be. However, when that stuff pops up, when those trials happen, I'm able to handle them better. I swear to you, because I've seen so much massive success, because people have shared their success with me, they've shared their vision with me, and I'm going to do the same thing every day as a leader. When they've gone through hard times, when they've gone through trials, death, divorce, loss, when they've gone through sickness, all these things, and they prospered because of it, that they still showed up because of it, I look at that, I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. Pregnancy, like all these different things where I'm like, dang. Like, there are so many of you on here where I'm like, man, like, I think about like Kim Meyer, and she wears like 5 million hats and still crushes it. I look at Morgan, and she's pregnant and just freaking like getting it done. Like, today you were actually on my mind, because I was like, Morgan did her workout today, or is doing her workout. Like, what do you got, Julianne? Like, what do you got? Are you serious? I look at Kristen. Erica just hit Success Club today, and she just had a baby today. Like, she hit Success Club today and just had a baby today. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can still hit Success Club when I have a baby. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's awesome. It's crazy the limitations we put in front of ourselves simply because we're busy or we're stressed because of other factors in our life. This is going to be the thing that gets you away from that. You have to pour your time into this, because it will help reduce all of that noise that's happening and bringing you down right now. Does that make sense? And where are you going to find the motivation to do that? Right here on this team. Where are you going to find the courage to do that? Right here on this team. I have to constantly be reminded of my purpose as a coach, because it's really easy to get frustrated, down, compare, all the stuff. I'm not where I want to be, right? All those little games. We're going to keep it straight up in here. We're not about that, right? We're about empowerment, raising the bar, and let's go. Back to momentum. So your phases are different than what a company is going through. Oh, please write this down. So hear me out. If I'm in a different phase, it doesn't mean that you have to be in the phase that I'm in. Did you hear that? So if I'm in momentum phase, that doesn't mean you have to be in momentum phase. When you look at Beachbody Corporation and they're in a formulation phase and you're in a momentum phase, it doesn't mean you have to adjust your phase because of the phase they're in. This is vital, you guys. This is vital. Star that, circle it, whatever. Because you want to know what happened? People who weren't truly sold on what they were doing last year, people that I love very much, people that I've mentored, poured into, people that were my friends that I've stayed at their houses, they've stayed at mine, we've gone on vacations together, weren't sold 100% on this. Whether it was the community, the products, I don't care, they weren't sold. This has changed my life. I don't even waver. When I see other people drinking shakes, when I see other people doing other things, I'm not even curious. I'm so sold on this. I'm not even worried. I'm not worried that Walmart's selling this now and this person's, I'm not worried about it. I did message Sarah today saying that another company was doing this just because I was like that, like, oh, I saw that. That sucks. We have to work harder in the sense because people are getting chemicals offered to them. Not work harder because I think we're at a deficit, but I was like, we have to work harder because these other companies are literally pouring chemicals into people's bodies for quick fixes, and it pissed me off. That's the only reason I said it, because I'm not worried about what other people are doing. I'm sold on what I'm doing. But you guys, people who are made, not currently making 6 figures in this business left last year. No one leaves at the top of their game. I can promise you that. No one leaves when they're doing awesome. So everyone who leaves, it's because they're not doing awesome. Does that make sense? Are we clear about that? But they were adjusting. Oh, Beachbody's a saturated market. Like it's this or that. Like they're saying I don't even know what they're saying. They're just like ridiculous. Like this or that doesn't work, bashing, doing all this stuff, because they were aligning their struggles and Beachbody going through a formulation phase. Like, you know, it's crazy. They're like, oh, they're not innovative anymore. And once they launched 80-day obsession, and now I see the vision of what they're going to be doing. Do you know how many challenge packs they're available on Beachbody? They're about to go on a whole nother level. It's about to get real in the next few years on what is going to be so innovative with what we're doing, like endless. It's going to be amazing. But what they saw was Beachbody was scrambling to figure out this innovative system, because every business is going to do that. You're going to do that. You're going to have a moment in your business, you're in the momentum phase, then you completely forget like how to talk about coaching. Then you're going to completely forget like how to run an awesome challenge group. Or there's just going to be something that happens where you're going to have to go back to the formulation phase and figure out what are you about? Then you have to get narrow again, and then you're going to start building up momentum again. You with me? Like you're inevitably, like you're going to go back to the formulation phase, and then you're going to work your way through the phase. But these people last year completely changed their phase to what Beachbody was going through. I was in a momentum phase. I was like, what are these people talking about? Like I'm crushing it. Like, what are they saying that it's a saturated market? No, it's not. Because I was in a different phase, focusing on me and not focusing on anything else. Does that make sense? So when I'm in a formulation phase, figuring it out, stuck, don't come to my phase. Stay in your phase and then work through that. Does that make sense? That was huge for me to hear. You cannot attach your success to what someone else's phase is. You cannot attach your success. So you might be seeing someone like Lauren Lundberg is just like crushing. She's like, you're not like making me mad. You're just making me competitive and like not in like a I don't like you way, but like, girl, it's on. Like, let's go. Let's do this. Like that kind of phase, like, let's go. But she's in a momentum phase right now. And you cannot look at her success as one, unattainable, because success doesn't work like that. But you also have to understand she has her niche down. It's not just preemie, it's micro preemie. Does that make sense? Like it is so narrowed, like she has it down. She has so much momentum happening, and you cannot look at her momentum and be like, man, this isn't for me, or I can never do that. And you put these limitations on yourself, and then you feel sorry for yourself, and then you don't move anywhere. One, you should be freaking inspired that there's so much momentum, because if she can do it, you can do it, right? I'm telling you this because I've walked this. I know this. You have to understand your phase and work your way through it. What you may not know is that Lauren has been sharing her story since day one. Before being a mom, before being pregnant, like literally shared it all the way back. Grant Cardone will say there isn't an overnight success. There isn't. You don't see the endless amount of work, the amount of questions, the Zooms. Like, I think about that with my journey where I'm like, I can't even count how many Zooms I've been on and getting mentored. I can't tell you how many books I've read. I can't tell you how many things I've completed, trainings, and just did it. Like, I can't tell you how many one-on-one calls I've been on. I cannot tell you because there's so much. I can't tell you how many coaches have quit with me. I can't tell you that just because I've just kept going, but there's so much that makes my story through this. Like, so much. Where I just show up hard every day. And I'm not saying it doesn't mean you need 12 hours. That's not how this works. Don't twist my words and thinking. To be a successful coach isn't chronic. To be a successful coach is if that's working in power pockets, you work in freaking power pockets. You got 30 minutes, give it your all. Get in, get out. Maddie had an awesome question on our team page. I hope you all saw it, and I hope you all saw my answer. How do I do this? Like, this is how. Let me show you. Scrolling your phone is not coaching. You don't have to answer everyone right away. It's your business. I know you're worried, like, oh, you want to serve them, but you're not serving the people you're with by being on your phone all the time. You're not serving your husband by being on your phone all the time. But then you're not serving your challengers by going back and forth with the people you're with and then you be on your phone, right? Like, either way, someone's suffering in that. You got to set those hours or half hours or 10 minutes. And you just got to make it work. Turn off your notifications and keep rocking and rolling. In the momentum phase, function of leadership creates stories. So he said, the harvest never looks like the seed. That one seed that you planted, you can't see the harvest, right? Once you get your harvest, you've never seen all of those seeds that were planted. You in the momentum phase, need to show your team where it's going, where you're going, where this business is going constantly. That's something that I mentor with my PS coaches. I'm telling them all the time, share your vision. They're always like, is it too much? I was like, it's not too much. It's not too much. You got to go share with them. You got to show them. You got to tell them what's possible. You got to tell them your victories. You got to tell them your struggles. You got to tell them your transparency of what's working and what's not, what lessons you've learned. I think about Trina Gray every single week. She'll share something she's learned. Like, she just shares like a success or a failure and how she applied that to change her mindset in this business. And I was like, someone at that level still does that, right? She's constantly sharing that vision. We have to help our coaches. I have to help you through these phases. And the only way I can do that, the only way your coach can help you with that is, one, you have to show up. You can't be this stick shift coach. You can't be inconsistent. It doesn't work like that. This business will go backwards quickly for you. You gotta keep moving forward, and it might really seem like it's like this much forward. Like, it's not gonna seem like a huge feat, if that makes sense. You just gotta trust this, but it's our job, and the way that we can do that is you gotta show up. You gotta be hungry, but you also have to implement what we teach. How many of you have implemented Streak since last week? Could you comment in the comments? How many of you have implemented Streak? Okay, like, that's how we can help you through these phases. When I'm telling you Streak's going to help you with your time management, that it's going to make you feel less stressed, that you're not going to be on your phone all the time, that you're not going to be checking your notifications all the time, that you literally are going to have more success with hitting certain goals and helping people is with this, you should probably do it. I'm just saying, you may not want to hear that. Pastor Andy, every time he's preaching, he said, this sermon isn't for somebody else. And the reason he says that is because when he's talking, you're thinking of who needs to hear this. But he's like, I'm not talking to somebody else. I'm talking to you. Stop trying to say this person needs it. Like, you need it, right? It might frustrate you, but I got you. I was talking on a leadership call today, and I said, yes, my team loves me and gets mad at me all at the same time. Like, at the same time. It's amazing. Like, we just like move forward, and it's like they're so frustrated at me and so empowered at the same time. It just works, right? I got you. How many of you worked, how about this? With Success Club, how much of it was Instagram and how much was it of Facebook? Was it more Facebook or more Instagram? Mine was Instagram. Instagram. If in the comments, go ahead, Instagram. 50-50, that's awesome. Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, Facebook. Hey, I love that, Morgan, because you're starting to focus on Instagram a little bit more. I'm telling you guys, you got to start switching. You got to start switching. A coach asked me if they should start a like page. I said, no, not with how the algorithm's going. It's going to be a waste of time. It's going to be a waste of time. Instagram is where you need to go, and that might scare some of you. But if you're hopping on these calls and getting on the weekend, I'm teaching you how to successfully do this. Literally, ask Lauren. We were on a one-on-one, and I was like, I can't, I told her something, and she's going to tell a story, and I'm going to say it forever too. I literally looked at her, and I was like, I'm done talking to you. Like, I'm getting off the phone. You need to do this, this, and this. I cannot eat, no. And then she went and did it, and it worked. All I said was, please start video messaging all those people who are watching your story. That's all I said. Just go message them. And she was like, whoa, that really worked. I was like, it's crazy. It's so crazy. I'm telling you guys, success is not a secret. I want to teach you. I want to get you through out of a funk if you're in one. I want to help you out of the phase to go to the next. But you got to be willing to be coachable. And that's something I told Lauren today. I said, I love after so long, Lauren's been with me the longest. I said, after so long, you are so coachable. And she said, I love that you constantly grow so you can teach me something. I'm like, I'll never stop growing, but thank you for implementing. So awesome. You have to lay the vision and you have to show them where it's headed. So you just need to constantly talk about that. And I think it's a lot with the belief in yourself, belief in the company, right? And the belief in the team. So where's the vision with the team going? Like, what do you see with the team? What do you see with the company and Beachbody? Like you guys know, I don't believe in anything else. I believe that with health and wellness, this is it. I do believe that. I'm sure there's other things and it's great. Like, I'm not against like gyms. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this community, this support, these challenge groups, what we have going is so good. That's what I mean by that. And so I'll lay that vision for you guys. We're going, like, it's crazy. It's about to be so crazy, right? You need to watch for a sign of a healthy business. A non-healthy business is a lack of activity. So a sign of a healthy business is a ton of activity, and that might be a certain amount of coach sneak peeks. That might be best practice Zooms. That might be recognition every day in your team page. What are those activities in your business that are healthy? Those are signs that you're going to the momentum phase. Are you shouting people out? Are you doing challenge groups each and every single month? Like, are you doing those things? That's showing signs of a healthy business. Activity is your success in this phase. Activity is your success. And you have to 10x that if you want. Like, so for example, if Grant Cardone said, all of my coworkers were making one business call a day, so I made 10. Once I started making 10, then I made 20. And he said I had massive amount of growth because I 10x'd it. So if you're not hitting Success Club, it's probably no. It's because you're not having enough conversations. You can tell me you're having 100 conversations and everyone's saying no, then you're not having enough. And that might make you mad. I'm not saying each month you have to have 100 conversations. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying in particular, if you have not hit Success Club, you've not had enough conversations. I'm not saying there's a formula each month for that. I'm just saying currently, right now, because if everyone's telling you no, then you need to go talk to 100 more people. And it's not going to be like that every month. That's all I'm saying. You can't build business based off of a chance. You cannot build a business off of chance. It's not built off of luck. It's not built off of everyone will come to me. That's not how this works. You actively have to seek out. You cannot rely on the same things. Maybe you shared your progress photos and it got 150 likes and that's how you got Success Club. More than likely in the next few months, that's not going to be the case, where people just message you and say, hey, what are you doing? So you have to be really careful because you're just going to bank on that every time. Does that make sense? Maybe you're like, crap. Like if you are serious about making massive growth in your business, and honestly, you're not going to if you don't have a vision. You're not going to if you don't really understand what it is that you want, even if it seems hard to get to. The only way you're ever going to do this is if you really know what is waking you up every single day and whatever that elephant is on your chest. You have to identify it and you have to understand that this business is the way to free that elephant off of your chest, but also get to whatever you want. I'm not saying a Rolls Royce and a private jet. I don't think our team, that's not our vibe. Like we're not about like the fancy things all the time, right? Like we're just really about experiences. Like Sarah gets to take her kids to Disneyland. That's what she's about in this business. Like more experiences with her family, right? She's not trying to drive like all these ridiculously nice cars because they look nice. She literally just wants awesome experiences with her family. And this can bring that freedom to you, you guys. I'm just telling you. This is a real business. And this is where you're going, and you have to understand that. And I don't think I did a good enough job as a leader because I was nervous for people to work hard. I was nervous to tell people that they needed to work hard. I don't know why. I think that's just society that like, oh, you shouldn't work so hard. You should take a break. Why are you doing that 80-day program? That's too long. Like you should just not do that. Do you have people in your life that say stuff like that? I really think like this business, it's really easy to get nervous about telling people that this is an actual business. And then guess what ends up happening? People don't treat it like a business. They just treat it like a credit card charge and then they cancel. This is a business. And maybe because we didn't go to school for business, we don't understand how business works. But what I know is that usually, and I live in startup, like Laura and Nikki and we live in Silicon Valley, and it's where all the startups are. It's where Apple is, Netflix is, Google is, like literally PayPal, Zoom is right downtown San Jose. Like use you every time, like on these meetings. They have to go in the hole to start businesses, like hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hole to start a business. To make any kind of profit will take a really long time. Airbnb started in San Francisco. It took them 10 years to become successful, and they're a billion-dollar company. I think people are honestly afraid of hard work, and I think a lot of people just like want to do mediocre work where they just get by. And Grant Cardone was talking about like, that's fine. He was being sarcastic, but like you're living this life but then what happens when something horrible happens? Then you freak out. Like everything's fine and dandy until, right? Like everything's good and this happens. Like we don't have to live like that. And I think I need to do a better job of really setting the tone for that yes, this requires work, not just with fitness, but this business requires work. Where he said, he's like, I always get this asked all the time, like, how did I become successful? Even Rachel Hollis in Girl Wash Your Face, people keep saying like, how did you become massively successful? And she was even just saying like, I didn't give up and I worked really hard and I knew I could do it. Grant Cardone is saying the exact same thing. He's just like, I just took action and I decided to not do it mediocre. Where in this group, I said like, set a small goal to a gigantic goal. And I saw some people setting their gigantic goal as $2,000 a month. And I'm like, maybe from right now, that sounds like a big leap, but that's not gigantic. $2,000 a month in this business is not gigantic, you guys. It's not. And I understand that might seem like a lot more for you, but I really don't think you know how to dream big then. I'm not like calling out a specific person, because Sarah and I always talk about this. Like, we put a ceiling on what we think. As a teacher making $35,000 a year, $50,000 seemed like a whole heck of a lot until I did this business. And then I'm like, man, in the next 2 years, I'll be making $250,000 a year, if not more. Like, I know that because I'm not putting a ceiling on my success with this. And I don't think you should either. $2,000 is not gigantic. And I really encourage you to think about that. This is a business and it's going to require work. Why do we not share this every day with people? Why do we not start new conversations every day? Why do we not do a power hour every day if this is a true business? And the only way to operate a true business is to put in work every single day in your business. Then maybe it all comes back to vision. You don't believe that this is the ticket. It is. It is. And it doesn't play favorites. It doesn't. And it's a mindset. And I really encourage you to read Be Obsessed or Be Average. If you are having a hard time with vision and goals and believing that you could be making 6 figures, I never thought someone like me could be doing that. I literally get freaked out sometimes of my paycheck because I'm like, this feels weird. Someone like me shouldn't be getting something like this. So I'm like, that's not true. That's my limited thinking. That's what I've ever known in life until now. You guys, it's not true. It's limitless. And I think it's my duty to share that with you and to tell you that you're not that far. You're not that far and anything is possible. It's important for you to see these phases and to build a legacy business and find legacy leaders. And the only way you can do that is to know exactly what it is that you stand for and set high expectations. Someone gave me an objection today. And I messaged her and I said, I just think it's interesting that you came to me in the first place. I'm not going anywhere. So when you're ready, I'm here. And I just can't help but think you're putting obstacles in your own way. I get you're scared. I get it might be about money, but I just can't help but think what would happen if you just went for it. And I just wrote that. And I'm like, out of sight, out of mind. And she'll be back, but I got to keep going because I want to help someone who wants to work and not make excuses. Business has cycles. It doesn't matter your phase. It doesn't matter. It's going to constantly have cycles. So now we're at the 4th phase. And the 4th phase is called the stability phase. The stability phase is your growth is stable. You're securing your business, meaning you're not going in and out of rank. Your income isn't dipping and then peaking. Like you're constantly moving the needle. Does that make sense? You're accomplishing goals. It's your responsibility in this phase to create success stories. Constantly create success stories. I see this a lot. For me, you will never see me go complacent as a leader. You will never see that. I will always continue to raise the bar. I hope you believe me because I am true to my word. Nonstop. I've seen, unfortunately, leaders that I've always admired all of a sudden hit this phase and then they stop because their income is good or they worked really hard for it, right? But then this is what happens is you can't rob the people who are starting. You can't rob those new coaches. You can't rob like the people who are joining your team if you're not going to lead them so hard, right? You have to lead by example. And you can't hang back in this phase, which is easy to do because it's stable. But that's the nerve-wracking part. You have to make sure that it's constantly duplicating. And that's where it comes to my heart and my vision, where I just feel like all of your whys and your vision are such a burden to me. And I don't mean that in a negative way. So sorry that it kind of does sound like that. But it's like, I think about your vision all the time. Like seriously, like what it is that you want and how I can serve you and lead you to where you make it happen. I can't express it. It's like I know no matter what, like I'll be successful, and I work really hard. And I was like, but nothing to me feels more successful than seeing other people more successful, that I love, that I mentor, that I show up hard for. Like when I can see them massively successful, it is just like, yes. And that's what keeps me going. You have to remove your emotions out of the equation in this phase. As a business leader, you have to remove your emotion. Yes, people are going to quit on you. Yes, things are going to happen. And you can be frustrated that this coach is doing this and not doing this. And you can complain about it and just like soak that up. Or you can just take action and level up and help the people who want to be served and serve with the people who want to serve, right? Surround yourself with those people. Your feelings don't build the business. Your feelings don't build this business. Remember, the harvest never looks like the seed, and be aware of where you are constantly. For me, it's hard to go back to phase one. Like it's hard, like especially being in a momentum phase, it's hard. But you have to be aware and you have to work your way through it. And then he said, set yourself on fire so others can see the blaze. And constantly feed yourself as a leader. I love that. Set yourself on fire so others can see the blaze. Because then they'll know where to go, right?